So this is an analyzation of Battlefield 4. It's the 13th installment in the Battlefield series, and it's the sequel to Battlefield 3. I really enjoy playing this game. Something that's really unique about this game is the destructible environments. You can take down towers, you can shoot through walls, and you can even take down the walls of buildings. And this makes it to where the players can change the environment around them during gameplay to create a more immersive and dynamic experience each time they play the game. Now, like with this building, once it reaches a critical level, the building is going to start to crumble and systematically collapse. Now, not only is this just a really cool feature of the game to see an entire building come down during the middle of a match, it also makes it a new and diverse environment for the characters to be able to play in. Now, in a game mode like this is Conquest, where players are going to battle over these different points to control them to earn points for their teams. And these large-scale matches also create small skirmishes, where players battle one another to take over the other player's conquest locations while also trying to protect their own. And also, along the way, they'll find interactable elements like these poles that come up and prevent vehicles from moving around, as well as things like this gate, where the player can go over there, push the button, and change the way that area flows. All of these elements kind of combine to create a very immersive and interactive environment for the multiplayer gameplay. One of my favorite elements of the immersive gameplay is players found out that they could attach C4 to the front of a four-wheeler, drive it into a building or into enemies, and detonate it right as soon as they jump off of it. Now, this isn't necessarily something the developers intended, but the players created that element. So much so that the developers actually included it in their upcoming Battlefield 2042 trailer, where, as you can see, they use a four-wheeler to take down a helicopter. Another really unique one is players would jump out of a jet, use a rocket launcher to take out the enemy jet, and then jump back into their own jet and fly away. And this is one of those examples of the player and the developer creating a combined narrative. Now, Battlefield 4, their campaign is much more straightforward and much more of a string and pearl kind of storyline. And they use cutscenes like these where they put the player into the first person mode to make them feel immersed in what's going on rather than just a bystander. Now, they also give the player, in this instance, a sense of agency, where they're telling the player, shoot out the window. However, whether the player chooses to shoot out the window or to just sit there and wait, it's gonna stop and cut the shot and go on to the next scene. So either way, you're gonna move on to the next part of the storyline no matter what decision you make. The rest of the game kind of operates like this hallway where you're always going to be on a set path. You can choose how quickly you go down that path, but that's about it. Now, there are opportunities like this door here where if I hadn't played this mission yet, there'd be a dog tag there. And the players can choose to take this scenic route, however, they're always going to end up back in the same hallway. Now, the developers did something really interesting with this part of the mission. By putting the player up here in this window and the enemies down on the ground, they kind of provide an opportunity for the player to learn the aiming and shooting mechanics of the game without actually putting the player in any kind of danger. So I know where these enemies are going to come from because these are triggered events. And so I can take them out much more quickly than the developers may have intended to, but they also didn't necessarily intend someone to be playing the campaign again after playing Battlefield so many years ago. Even though it's just a string and pearl kind of storyline, you still really care about the game and the story and the campaign and the characters involved in it. You really want to get to the rooftop. You want to get to the helicopter and escape with your teammates, but unfortunately, the game sometimes has other ideas. Now, this is one of the few QuickTime events in Battlefield 4, And in harder difficulty levels, if you don't take out these guys here, they'll actually kill you. But in easy mode, you can just slide right past them one way or another, and the cutscene is going to continue on as usual. By adding these little elements into the game, the developers kind of give the player a sense of agency and choice throughout the game, but when you really break it down, it's not going to change the outcome of the game. It just makes it feel more natural and organic. Now, the developers did something really interesting here. By setting the vehicle in this direction, they automatically subconsciously told the players which direction to go. Also, during this playthrough, I didn't realize that you could change the view of the vehicle until much later on. The developers give you that sense of agency, but they don't really tell the player how to do that. And so it's not necessarily expected that the player is going to make these decisions because they're just playing the game for the first time. Now this is a list of triggered events where the helicopter is going to try and shoot you off the road. No matter how long you wait in that tunnel, no matter how much you get shot, you're not actually going to get blown off the road until you're supposed to. Now with this playthrough, I kind of played around with the helicopter scene. Your friend gives you a rocket launcher and tells you to shoot the helicopter, but I was wondering, what happens if you don't shoot the helicopter? You end up in the water anyways, right? Well, not necessarily. Apparently, you get put back in the tunnel and you go again until you actually do take out the helicopter and then get launched into the water and end up where we started. Now this is one element in the game during the campaign where they do give the player agency. Players are able to choose weapons and more weapons unlock throughout the gameplay as you progress through the levels, giving the character more choice and agency over their preferred play style. However, in the end, the storyline itself is going to be the same either way. And if you try to go outside of those storylines, at times your teammates will even grab you, hand you binoculars, and tell you what to do next. Now it's up to you whether you actually use those tools given to you or not, but it's not going to have an effect on the overall story. One area where the developers give the players a lot of agency is with the class systems. You're able to customize your weapons in multiple different ways to fit your preferred play style and to come up with a weapon combination that suits you personally and gives you the best results during combat. The assault class is going to be more full automatic weapons at long range precision, and it's also going to include the defibrillator and things like the med pack. With the defibrillator, you can bring your teammates back in combat and give them a second chance during warfare. Similarly, the health pack is going to allow you to heal both yourself and your teammates. With the engineer class, you're going to have access to more submachine guns, anti-vehicle rocket launchers, and things like the repair tool. The submachine guns are going to be more compact, allowing the players to move more rapidly around corners, aim down the sights quicker, and be more accurate at close range. However, at long range, these weapons aren't going to necessarily be good. With the rocket launchers, you'll be able to take out enemy vehicles and eliminate those threats that other classes really can't compete with. It also includes the repair tool, which you can use to repair your own vehicles, including your teammates' vehicles, and keep those elements in the gameplay longer. The support class is going to provide the player with a wide range of heavy machine guns. With these guns, you can just unload on the enemies without having to worry about magazines, without having to worry about reloading. And yes, it's going to make you slower, but not having to reload between taking out enemies can be really beneficial. Now, along with that support class, you'll have things like the C4, like we talked about earlier, and we'll also have what we call ammo packs, what are called ammo packs, where you can restore both yours and your teammates' ammo during gameplay, allowing you to stay in combat even longer. The Recon class is going to provide you a wide range of sniper rifles, as well as a bunch of different scopes and attachments to customize to your playstyle. While you won't be moving around the map as much and going in and out of buildings and around corners, the shots you do take are going to count a lot more if you can make them connect. Along with the Recon class, you'll have access to gadgets and attachments that help that particular playstyle. Because you won't be moving around much, the equipment given to you allows you to see enemy movement on your radar when they're near you. This can help keep somebody from sneaking up behind you, as well as a remote-controlled aerial vehicle that you can fly over battle. You can lock onto enemy vehicles, lock onto enemies on the ground, and get a different perspective on the battlefield. So whether you're going from rooftops to ground level, the game allows you to go anywhere you want on these maps. Even if you want to follow a tank underground and take out a couple of enemies, the game creates a very immersive and dynamic experience. Like this hole in the ground wasn't here when the game started. That's because it was created because of explosions. Speaking of explosions, one of my favorites is on the map Siege of Shanghai, where there's this massive tower in the middle of the map. Players are allowed to go up and down the elevators, they can play on top of the building, they can play on the bottom floor, but in the end, once the building structure reaches its critical level, this massive tower is going to come crashing down in the middle of the map. People are going to have to jump off the rooftops, parachute down to safety, and the entire dynamics of the map changes. And it's really spectacular seeing an incredibly massive structure just coming down in the middle of playing an online match with your friends. Not only does this building fall down, as you can see, dust and debris blows through the streets, completely changing the look and feel of the rest of the map as well. And there where the building stood is now a bunch of rubble and debris. And the players can actually go into that, and it becomes the new conquest point, creating a new and dynamic environment for players to play in. I'm really excited to see how Battlefield 2042, coming out in November, brings some of these elements into that gameplay as well.